Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Ma, what are you doing?
Well, Deborah insisted on cooking a fish, so I cooked a turkey in case people want to eat.
What if the best Thanksgiving dishes have been forgotten for 50 years? What if the most talked about foods from your grandparents' generation are sitting on faded recipe cards tucked away in a dusty box? Well, today we're opening that time capsule and diving into forgotten 1970s Thanksgiving sides we should bring back. And no, this isn't just about kitschy Jell-O salads, though there were plenty of those. This is about rediscovering a lost culinary world, a time when Thanksgiving tables were this fascinating mix of old-world tradition, from-scratch labor, and the shiny new promise of convenience foods. We're digging through Grandma's recipe box to bring these forgotten classics back to life. Now, some might surprise you, some might challenge your modern palate, but all of them tell a story about who we were and how we ate. So, let's get cooking. First up is a dish that's as beautiful as it is simple. Whole-baked squash with butter and maple syrup. Today we mash our squash, we puree it, we hide it in casseroles. But in the 1970s, especially with the Back to the Land movement, there was a real respect for letting whole ingredients shine. It was all about celebrating the harvest in its purest form, and this dish is basically that philosophy on a plate. Before casseroles took over, this was how so many families enjoyed winter squash. It wasn't about making the ingredient, it was about elevating it. You'd see these gorgeous, glossy halves of acorn or butternut squash on the table, their orange flesh glistening under a blanket of melted butter and real maple syrup. This wasn't just a side dish, it was a rustic centerpiece. So, let's do it. I have a beautiful acorn squash here. The process is so simple, it's almost poetic. You carefully halve it, scoop out the seeds, and that's most of the work. No need to peel it. The skin softens as it bakes and becomes its own natural bowl. Now for the magic. We place these halves cut side up, and I'm adding a generous pat of butter to each one. Next, the star of the show, pure maple syrup. Now, we're not talking about breakfast syrup here. You need the real, dark, woody stuff that tastes like a forest. I'm pouring a healthy amount right over the butter, adding a little salt and pepper to balance the sweetness, and that's it. These go into the oven to roast until they're completely tender, and that butter and syrup have created a rich, bubbling glaze. The aroma is just incredible. Nutty, sweet, and deeply comforting. It smells like fall itself. And here we are. The squash is fork tender. The glaze has thickened into this beautiful amber-colored sauce. Now time for the moment of truth. I'm just scooping a spoonful directly from the skin, and oh wow! The squash is so creamy and earthy, and that flavor is perfectly cut by the smoky sweetness of the maple glaze. It's not cloying like some modern sweet potato casseroles. It's balanced and wholesome. You taste the squash first, which is the whole point. This is a tradition that absolutely deserves a comeback. Next up is a dish that is pure, unadulterated Southern comfort: cornbread dressing. And let's be very clear. In much of the South, it's dressing, not stuffing. In the 1970s, this was an anchor of the Thanksgiving table. What makes this dish so perfect for the era is its beautiful contradiction. It's a mix of humble, scratch-made tradition and the shiny new world of processed foods. The heart of this dish is day-old, skillet-made cornbread, crumbled by hand. This tradition has deep, powerful roots. Culinary historians trace it back to West African dishes like kush, a preparation of grains that was adapted by enslaved Africans in the American South, who ingeniously used cornmeal. So, every bite of this dressing carries a profound history of resilience and culinary creativity. The base was pure, honest cooking. Crumbled cornbread, sautéed onions and celery, and a handful of fresh sage, all soaked in a rich, homemade broth. But here's where the 70s shows up to the party. The crowning glory, the part that made it legendary, was a crust made from crushed Ritz crackers mixed with an almost scandalous amount of melted butter. Packaged goods were a symbol of modern American life, and that salty, buttery, impossibly crispy cracker topping was the perfect textural contrast to the moist, savory dressing beneath. Let's revive this icon. So, I've got my crumbled, day-old cornbread here. In a skillet, I'm sautéing chopped onions and celery in butter until they're soft and fragrant. Now that goes into the cornbread, along with fresh sage and poultry seasoning. I'm pouring in homemade turkey broth, mixing until it's all soaked in. It should be moist but not swimming. The mixture goes into a buttered casserole dish. And now for that signature 70s flair. I'm crushing a sleeve of Ritz crackers, not too fine, you want some texture, and drenching them in melted butter. Now this golden buttery goodness gets sprinkled right over the top, and this is what creates that incredible crust. Into the oven it goes. The smell is Thanksgiving, distilled, savory herbs, rich broth, oh, and that toasty smell of butter and crackers. All right, look at that crust. It's golden, crunchy, and just irresistible. Okay, let's get a scoop. Oh, that is phenomenal. The dressing itself is so moist and flavorful, but that topping, it's a game changer. The salty, buttery crunch of the Ritz crackers is the perfect counterpoint, and it's so much more interesting than regular breadcrumbs. This is a masterpiece, and I honestly don't know why we ever let it go. And for our final revival, we're stepping into the territory of forgotten luxury, with a flavor that has almost vanished from modern Thanksgiving tables: oyster stuffing. Now, while its history goes back centuries, it held a special place on many 1970s holiday tables, especially along the coasts. It was a sign of prosperity and regional pride, a way to connect the feast to the local harvest from the sea. To serve oyster stuffing was to offer your guests something special. A taste of briny complexity amidst the earthy flavors of the meal. It's not fishy, it's a whisper of the sea that elevates everything. The oysters add a silky texture and a subtle mineral-rich flavor that is truly unique. So, where did it go? Well, mostly the rising cost of fresh oysters made it a luxury few could justify for a big holiday crowd. What was once a regional staple slowly became a memory. Well, it's a taste of history that is too unique to forget. So, we're bringing it back. Now we start with a classic base. Cubes of day-old white bread, sautéed onion and celery, and herbs like thyme and sage. Now for the main event. I have a pint of fresh shucked oysters, and I've reserved the liquid they came in, the oyster liquor. Now this stuff is liquid gold. So I'm going to gently cook the oysters in their own liquor just until the edges begin to curl. You can't overcook them. Once they're done, I'll drain them, keeping that now infused liquor. I'll roughly chop the oysters and gently fold them into the bread mixture. Finally, I'll use that flavorful oyster liquor and some broth to moisten the stuffing. The key here is to be gentle. Now this goes into the oven, and as it bakes, the oysters perfume the entire stuffing. The aroma is different. It's savory and herbaceous, but with an underlying briny note that is so intriguing. And here it is. It looks like a classic bread stuffing, but we know it's holding a secret. Let's try it. Oh, wow, that is fascinatingly delicious. So first, you get the comfort of a classic stuffing, but then you hit these little pockets of soft, silky oyster that release a clean, savory, oceanic flavor. It's not overpowering at all. It's complex and sophisticated. This was a luxury for a reason, and tasting it now, I can say it's a luxury worth reviving. So there they are, a rustic whole-baked squash gleaming with maple syrup, a legendary cornbread dressing with its iconic cracker crust, and a luxurious oyster stuffing whispering tales of the coast. These are the forgotten flavors of a 1970s Thanksgiving. They tell a story of a time of transition, of honoring the earth, embracing the modern age, and celebrating regional treasures. But more than that, they remind us that our food is a living record of our families and our history. Maybe there's a recipe in your own family's past that's just waiting to be rediscovered. What about you? What forgotten dishes does your family make for Thanksgiving? Are there any 70s classics you think we missed? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your stories and your own forgotten family traditions.